Hey everyone, this is LYS from Laddering Your Success, and you're listening to the LYS Podcast.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome one and all to EduSteps, the online mentoring podcast powered by Laddering Your Success. I'm LYS co-founder of Laddering Your Success, and I'm honored to be joined, as always, by my fellow co-founder and LYS creator, Festus Amoye. Festus, how you doing today, brother?
Well, man, doing well. It's a shame, there's a cycle of getting stuff done, but trying to relax at the same time. Sometimes those things seem counterintuitive, and so it's just making the most of the time. But you
can probably hear me now. That good?
Yep.
All right, we're blessed as always to also be joined by the future Doctor of Education, Jamark Crawford. How you doing today, Jamark, brother?
Hey, I'm doing all right. Happy to be here with my brothers.
Awesome. Getting closer and closer to becoming Dr. Jamark. Ooh, man, you're gonna have to tell him correct me whenever he gets treated improperly at Saks or what's the name of that place? Hammerkerschmeller. I don't even know. How do you say it? What's the name of that place? Hammerkerschmeller. I don't even think they have physical locations. You know what I'm talking about? Well, whenever you get mistreated, be like, sorry, Mr. Crawford. Actually, it's Dr. Crawford. That's what you're going to tell me. Actually, you're going to have people there with you. You're going to be right behind you. It's Dr. Crawford. Oh, man. Awesome. Daniel, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All righty. We are also right on time. We are also blessed to be joined once again by that guy. To him be only, the one and only, Daniel Hill. Daniel, how you doing today, brother?
Good, man. How y'all boys doing over there?
Great, man. We're doing great, man. We're not too far from November, and then we're going to hit what I like to call the toughest part of the year, the Thanksgiving, Christmas holiday season when, friends and clients are going to be having parties. They're going to be like, come on over. We've got these, they're going to be giving you the things that they got that they don't want, that you may like. So, you need to give some of that. So you got to be very careful around this time because this is usually the time where I pack pounds, right? So I'm trying to come up with a plan to either limit that or maybe even lose some pounds. So, got to look in. I always hear about suits. I remember suits. I remember hearing fall time is a good time for soups. And I remember one time I actually made this. You guys won't even believe me. I made this. What's the name of that? It's like a squash. It's like a summer squash, maybe a summer squash soup with roasted pumpkin seeds. Don't judge me. All right. I feel the judgment, but it's okay. I did what I did. It was really good. I have to say. So either way, we could have a conversation on that. We'll call that LYS After Dark or something. Not in a bad way. Either who. Folks, today we're going to be talking about some of the big issues that we're going to be facing in education, society, and more in 2025 and beyond. We finished last week with our conversation on that, but there's still a couple of things that are happening nationally, and locally. As many of you know, we are located in the great state of Texas. And so there's some really cool and unique things that are happening that are going to impact young people as they make that journey from middle school to high school to college. And so we want to talk about those changes because what we're here for is to leverage technology to create lifelong learners. And so we have to be ahead of the curve. Just by being in LYS, so we naturally are ahead of the curve. We're starting to see a lot of the things, a lot of reforms, a lot of laws, a lot of things that are being changed kind of flowing into where it's almost like we've been waiting for them. So, when they get, how it is when you get to the car and that person's sitting in the back, in this case, it's going to be a van because it's going to be like Festus and I and Jamark and Hill, and we're going to have cowboy hats and boots, and we're going to be like this with like that little thing of, hey, we got all these great ideas, and they're like, where you guys been? We've been waiting on y'all, man. I got drool on the side of my mouth because I've been sleeping so long waiting for you guys. So sorry, Festus, you were going to say something, I think?
No, I'm just saying, sure. Tell us some hay in the mouth and all that stuff.
So let's talk about the first thing that we've kind of noticed that I really want us to take a look into, and that is direct admissions. All right. Direct admissions is a web-based tool that basically allows students to enter in their class rank, grade point average, and their standardized test scores or their test scores to get a list of Texas public universities to which they would be admitted. Right. And this is pretty awesome because I just by thinking about it, I'm already like, I know the cost of paying for a college application may hurt some. And unfortunately, there are some things like waiver programs and things, but there's still a feeling of, man, I'm still going through the energy. I'm putting in the energy of putting in this application, not knowing whether or not I'm going to get applied. So this is pretty awesome. This tool is meant to streamline the college application process and remove some of those challenges that can make students hesitant to apply. Some of this had to do with the changes to DEI policies and COVID, which slowed down some of the admissions policies for many colleges and universities. Through My Texas Future, which is the name of the site, students can connect themselves with the resources they need to plan their career and explore careers in college programs through those tools, through the tools that they have there. Go ahead, Festus. Does somebody want to say something? Okay. So what I'm going to do is to make sure that we are all on the same page. I'm going to go through some stats. I was fortunate. I had a chance to look up where we're going to be 10 years from now in regards to what students are going to be doing post high school. For those of you who are new to Laddering Your Success, one of the things we started, or I won't say started, but one of the hallmarks of what we do is we usually tell students when we meet them for the first time, there's only 6 things. Listen here, 6 things. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 things that a student can do once they leave high school. 1, you can go to college university. 2, you can join the military. 3, you can go to trade school. 4, you can start a business. 5, you can just get a regular job. Or 6, you can sleep on your mom's couch, right? That's it. There's only 6 things you can do once you leave high school. So with that being said, I want to go through some percentages of what many, or actually what the government, I got sources from the Department of Education, the DOE, and another government website. And I just want to go over where they're saying nationally and locally where kids are going to be going after high school. Okay. 60 to 65%. So that means basically 6 out of 10 kids who graduate are going to be going to college and university. 15 to 20% are going directly into the workforce. All right. So 60 to 65% college, university, 15 to 20% directly into the workforce. 10 to 15% are forecasted to go into trade or technical schools. But depending on which state, for instance, the number in Texas is thought to be higher, right? 5 to 7% are forecasted to take a gap year, surprisingly enough. So I think the amount of students that are going to be taking some time off to kind of find themselves and figure out what they want to do is going up. And I can't see Festus' face right now, but I'm pretty sure he's like, yeah, I can see that. That makes a lot of sense. And 2 to 4% of students are going to be joining the military. All right. And also, with some of these other percentages, those numbers are forecasted to be higher. So for instance, in Texas, things like direct workforce, trade and technical schools, and military are forecasted to be a little bit higher. Military, because of our strong military background and our, just our traditions in military. So just, if you know your state, if you know where you live, that's just a general idea of, where we're gonna be in the next 10 years in regards to post high school plans. So
yeah, just thinking about them gap years, man, it's tough because a lot of people they go from a gap year to a gap decade. I mean, and don't get me wrong, there's a certain time when a person is ready to receive education, but the longer you're in the system, you need to be doing something. So I'm gonna just throw this out there. If you're planning on taking a gap year, plan, okay? Just because you're taking a gap year doesn't mean you should just be meaning to be sitting on the couch. It doesn't mean you should be just hanging out. But you need to make the most of that time.
Definitely. Go ahead, Festus.
No, that's all I had to say. That's all I had to share.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And the reason why I said I couldn't see Festus' face earlier is because one of the things that Festus said that I thought about is this. Usually from generation to generation, silent generation, and then I think there is maybe I think we had silent generation, then the lost generation. In between, after that, so silent generation, lost generation, baby boomers, Generation X, millennials, Gen Z, Gen Alpha. That's how it goes. As we advance in technology, Gen Z kids right now, they'll call millennials, they'll call anyone who's older than them, 5, 10 years, they'll call them boomers, right? So I remember when I was teaching, they're like, "Oh, Mr. Sharanki, you're a boomer," right? And I was in my feelings low key because I'm already bald. Now you're just gonna add this. I got a bad knee. I can't sit Indian style. You know what I mean? So low key, I feel like a boomer, but I'm not really a boomer. But I say all that to say, as we advance in technology, the gap that we have, we can still, as a millennial, all of us here are millennials, we can still relate to a baby boomer. We can definitely relate to a Gen Xer. We can definitely understand the trials of someone born in the silent generation. I believe our current president, was born in the silent generation. Correct me if I'm wrong. Please comment on YouTube if I'm wrong about that, or wherever you're listening. So with the Gen Zers, with the Gen Alphas, I think that gap is so much wider. And COVID, so many things they've had to deal with that kind of makes them a lot more insulated. It's almost like a repeat of that silent generation in a sense, which goes to one of the things that we talk about here a lot, which is that everything is cyclical, right?
Hey, LYS fam. It's Ole. Thanks so much for listening to LYS. I just wanted to take a quick moment to talk to the parents. That's right, mom and dad. Parents, prepare your child for their best educational fit after high school with our comprehensive LYS Parents Guidebook. Our helpful guide includes a range of activities designed to help you better understand your child's unique gifts and abilities. Additionally, we provide valuable insights into the student loan debt crisis and offer practical tips on how to avoid accumulating large amounts of debt. Our ebook also includes a wealth of information on scholarships, grants, and payment exemptions that can help guide your child towards a bright and successful future. With our expert guidance, you can rest assured that your child is well prepared to make informed decisions about their education and career path. Don't let your child's future be in jeopardy. Invest in their future today by downloading the LYS Parents Guidebook. Simply go to lys.com/parents to get your copy today. Now let's get back to the show because it's some good topics.
One of the things we're going to get into is something that Festus and I talked about, I believe it was last night, which I didn't get a chance to look into, but the numbers kind of show it, which is the blue collar revolution, right? Which is a lot of folks who are leaving traditionally, going to college or university, and are saying, I'm gonna learn this trade, I'm gonna learn this skill, right? And I'm gonna just take 9 to 18 to 24 months and because I like it and it's fun, and I'm gonna start doing that. And so let me start off with our first question so we can discuss further. If you can, I would love to hear your thoughts on direct admissions. What are just your general thoughts on direct admissions?
Yeah, I think direct admissions are a great idea because it gives students the most opportunities to get into the most schools possible. And so when you think about it, a lot of time, some kids, they will not apply simply out of fear or doubt. You know what I mean? I'm not a big believer in, self-esteem, stuff like that. But sometimes it's just that they got low self-esteem and they feel like, hey, nobody's going to select me. I'm not worth it. But with direct admission, basically you're being put at the forefront of the schools that are going to give you the best opportunity. And I think this is a challenge because the tweaks and changes that I've been hearing about have been good in terms of having academic tracks now. Now students are on certain academic tracks so that if you want to study medicine, they got you more in the sciences, they got you more in the math, things like that could help make you stronger in terms of being analytical. But I also think it's tough because that could injure, students, because then it's like, okay, well, yeah, at that time I got in this track and I didn't even know what other things were available or kind of pushed down. But at the same time, to me, at the end of the day, it's better to do something than do nothing, right? And to me, the highest a person can do is find out what you're passionate about and you're good at. Like, you can't just quote unquote follow your dreams, follow your passion without actually being good at it. You know what I mean? And that's the thing is like,
What do they call him? JJ Silverfish or whatever, the rapper. Y'all remember him? It's like,
Something about you.
exactly. You know what I'm saying? So you don't want to be that guy where it's like, man, I'm gonna have this rap career, and everybody kind of looking at you sideways, like, oh, okay. And unfortunately, nowadays they're doing a politically correct thing and just encouraging you to do rubbish. You know what I mean? Like, you want to be around and in a situation where you're hearing the truth and you're studying to sharpen your skill set so you could be the best out there. You know what I mean? And so I love what Texas is doing, shaking some things up. Again, trying to help as many students as possible just figure out what they're going to do next. That's all I had to share. Thank you.
I think direct admissions I think it's good for what its intention is. I definitely think it will help increase the access to college for many students without having to go through those lengthy application process and things of that nature, as well as removing certain barriers that is associated with getting into college, like biased standardized testing. And I say bias due to the types of questions that are on the test. So if students or if direct admissions is based on criteria such as grade point average, class rank, course completion, and things of that nature, that could eliminate or alleviate some of the challenges with our students actually, getting access to a college education. So with that intention, I'm definitely happy for that.
So direct means like they can literally just get in, or what's the mean again? Can you explain one more time?
Sure. So the direct admissions, what students will do is it will allow them to enter their class rank, their grade point average, and their test scores, right? To get a list of the Texas public universities to which they would be admitted. And so
Oh, that's awesome. I think that's good. Like, I mean, that's just based off of like, yeah, that sounds good to me, because it'd be an easier process for them to actually get in. So it sounds good to me. The way I see it, help them save money too, because you don't have to go to all these major schools. You go to regular school. So yeah, I like.
But it also just once you put in that info, it puts the best suited schools for you forward. You know what I mean? So
Oh, okay.
yeah, so it's not like it says, hey man, you don't need to go to UT. You know what I mean? What it does is says, hey, listen, based off of your scores and here are the schools we think you should go to. And then you could put in your application, a one app, they call it Apply Texas or whatever, and then apply to all of those schools that you're best suited for.
Oh, that sounds good. I do it.
And then
I would.
another thing that's cool about that too, the families are not wasting their financial resources paying those fees to apply to the different colleges that they might not even be guaranteed to get into. I don't know what the application fees are nowadays, but back in the day when I was applying, I believe it's like 20, 30 some dollars. I don't know how much it is now, but spending that,
Yeah.
for each and every school, that can start to become a little expensive.
Absolutely. Yeah. Those fees used to range from like usually around 25 to like up to 95 for certain schools. And so, when you think about that, it's like, well, why am I having to pay to eventually pay for school? Well, the thing is, the major difference that, and hopefully our listeners are just getting some clarity, is that colleges and universities are not subsidized like regular public school, right? So regular public school is usually subsidized by taxes in the state of Texas anyway. And then, you get certain government grants for certain things. So when you start talking about, colleges, those institutions, they have to earn their keep, so they're usually based off of enrollment and people paying tuition. And how many people, drop out, they don't actually pay their tuition, things like that all become factors in why that application becomes expensive. But I'm gonna let a secret out that a lot of people either know or don't want to know, is that part of the reason schools are so selective and they don't just let everybody in is because of the attrition rate, the dropout rate. Schools that, and there's research that verifies this, schools that have more open policies in terms of entrance and enrollment tend to have lower graduation rates. And so in order to keep up their prestige, schools will put certain roadblocks and obstacles in your way. And people say, "Oh, that's not fair." But the reality is, this is kind of how life is, right? Is that the more energy and effort you put out for something, actually that shows how much you want that thing, right? It's just like, if you go out on a date and the person is like looking shabby, they didn't shave, they didn't brush their teeth, they didn't take a shower, their clothes is torn and tattered, and not like in a cool way, you know what I'm saying? You like, the image you have is like, man, you must not really, you didn't really want to just go out with me like that, you know what I'm saying? Whether it be, whatever gender, and so the more you put effort into preparing, what I mean, that usually shows like, okay, this person's ready, right? So if you're in middle school, what are some things that you can do? Start volunteering, start taking college readiness courses, improve your study skills. If you're in high school, what can you do? Extracurricular activities. Start getting around people who could actually write you letters of recommendation. It's kind of sad sometimes that when a student's ready to go to college or to try to get into some program, they don't know anybody to write them a letter of recommendation. And obviously what that means is that you're probably living an insular life, but I'll pause there.
Hey, LYS fam, it's Ole. Just wanted to take a quick break to let you know that even though the cost of college can be daunting, the LYS Scholarship Guide ebook can assist you in realizing your dreams. You can identify and apply for scholarships using the information, advice, and resources in our comprehensive guide. Also, we've provided a template for a successful scholarship essay to help you stand out from the crowd. Don't allow student loan debt to control you. Get your copy of the LYS Scholarship Guide ebook right away to take charge of your destiny. Simply go to lys.com/parents to get your copy today. Now let's get back to that fire conversation.
So to add on to just what you're saying, to give some perspective from the other side of it, from the instructor's point, like in the college system, the way the colleges are funded now has changed. It used to be their funded was guaranteed based off of the official day roll, and the official day roll is like a week later. These people have certainly shown up to class and their tuition is covered. So the school is guaranteed their funding to pay for whatever they need to pay for, right? Now the system has completely changed. No longer is it just based on attendance. And what Festus is talking about is called the success rate. So the success rate is the ability of the students to register for classes or at that school and to stay and complete their journey through that school. Success is also counted if they're transferred to another college and things of that nature within the state. So that helps their success rate because they're still in school. So now when he was talking about the dropout rate, so the funding for these colleges are now based on student succession rate percentage, which is difficult to calculate, but now the funding is no longer guaranteed. And so when I hear Festus talk about why the schools have these hurdles for students to jump over, if I just be honest and play from both perspectives, I see why that is necessary, because now my colleagues are in a frenzy trying to, well, if I am in control of delivering the content, and what I don't have control over is the students' inner motivation or intrinsic motivation to be successful throughout their academic career. That's something I don't have control over. These are grown people. We're not in public school anymore. I can't make them come to class, nor can I make them stay in school. So what are the things that I can do that's in my control, which is make class more engaging and meaningful and things of that nature, right? But now the problem is me getting paid is now dependent on the students who decide to stay in school versus drop out. And so I see the conundrum there of the level of difficulty, to where now you have the college systems panicking and they're putting the pressure now on the college instructors. Hey, we got to make sure our success rate is up. Do this, do this. And I see the transition. I can see it because I came from public education into this system. So for me, I can just put it simple like this. the ways of college system how it used to be, to where the students are all independent, is now switching more to a public school format. Yo, let's start trying to treat these students, yeah, they're independent, but let's start trying to motivate them to come to class and this and that, so that they can stay in school and eventually graduate, because now the school's funding is dependent on their success rate.
Man, that's huge, and thank you for sharing that. That's what I love about just the different perspectives that we bring to the table. Is like, you're able to see it from a public school side, from a policy side, from a four-year university side. You know what I'm saying? A professor. So that's super dope. I also, just more on that note is that, who does this have the potential to help or hurt the most? Because a lot of times when these shifts happen, we're trying to, society is trying to help empower as many people as possible. So usually it's getting those, low SES individuals, which I was one of, giving them opportunity. And so I say all that because, we need to really make sure we're not squandering our opportunities, and we need to look at what's on the other side of things. I've seen behaviors from parents in the past where, kids doing well, going to college, doing whatever, and right around the time it's time for finals, oh, don't worry about that. I need help with this. And it's like, could that have waited? You know what I'm saying? Different kind of things like that. And so all that is really saying is, as families, we need to start supporting family members. And I understand the difficulty sometimes when you got different policy programs that are meant to help people, but they have they incentivize people differently. You know what I'm saying? So there's certain programs that they're meant to incentivize, certain people in one way. Hey, maybe you shouldn't get that job because that, check that's guaranteed is going to be less. Maybe you shouldn't work so many hours because if you do, you pass a certain threshold, so on and so forth. And so what ends up happening sometimes is we then put that off on other family members and say, hey, well, I need you, and these will be the family members who sometimes, as the hood will call it, they'll be the one, they'll be Neo, you know what I'm saying? They're the one who's supposed to put the family on their back and all that stuff. And now all of a sudden they have a different charge simply because we don't understand what the incentives of the institutions are, right? And so what you're going to start to see, because you got a lot of community colleges with success rates of only 20%, So, imagine you going to work and you only getting 20% of what you were supposed to get paid. That don't look good, right? So you're going to do something different. So these institutions are going to start to change. They're going to, one, hopefully they're going to do what Crawford was saying, create more supports for students, try to help students make sure that they're getting in the right classes, that they're enjoying different kind of things like that. But you're also going to start to see them become more selective, where they're gonna scratch their head, man. We had open enrollment. Are we sure we want to do that? Well, why don't we go ahead and kind of squeeze it back a little bit? Why don't we change some of that open enrollment? Why don't we maybe start a program that is a pre-enrollment program? You're going to start to see stuff like that where they say, look, maybe we need to screen them out through pre-enrollment versus have them get in here and then drop out. And now we only get 20% or 30% of what we thought would have been 100%. You see what I'm saying? So you gotta sometimes think about other people's incentives, how things look to them, what helps them, and try to create as much win-win situations as possible. I'll say one more thing and then I'll close. For those who are thinking about going to HVAC, going to some kind of technical or trade school, I implore you, I encourage you, go ahead and do that, because right now, with so much automation going on, those jobs are much needed jobs, and you want to be in early before a lot of people get into the field, and then the work starts to dry up, right? So what ends up happening in these trade fields is, let's say, for example, we're in Texas, someone's AC goes out, right? Well, it's different when, hey man, you got to wait 2 weeks or 3 weeks to get that AC replaced because there's not as many technicians. Well, all of a sudden it's going to be same day delivery, you know what I mean? Because they're going to be like, hey, we need to hurry up and get this job before somebody else does, because the field's going to get packed in. So make your money while you can.
And so one more thing on that that's interesting is that these policies are put in place to advocate for, students with the whole school loan thing going on, to where it's like, okay, how can we limit and have a situation where these students aren't just taking this money and they're just in debt and they didn't use it. And one of the things is, for us on the college side, is, look, you need to be able to provide as many resources to these students as possible, so they're not just taking out these loans to pay for these courses and then end up dropping out. So that's on that hand. So it is to advocate for the students. But what I see with that as well, because I understand that, but something you touched on are students who have circumstances at home. That's understandable as well. They have family circumstances. But one of the things that I think that's most dominant is that the students are entering college without knowing the purpose, which is something that you guys specialize in, right? But many of the students have not identified the purpose, what they want to accomplish, and their goals. And so they're just in school, maybe because their parents said you need to go to school, or somebody said you need to go to school. So they're in school with no purpose, therefore they're not taking it serious. So regardless of the amount of resources that the school provides, and now the pressure is on the professors to make sure these students are aware of these resources. Even if a student is like, hey, maybe academics ain't the way for me, the college systems have tracks to where they can get a job, whether it's in plumbing, whether it's in mechanics, car, automotive, like literally all of these programs that will guarantee you a job when you finish. But if a student does not have a sense of identity or purpose, eventually, if they don't find their purpose while they're in school, they're just gonna just stop coming. And then that affects the lives of the people that work in the institution as well. So just wanted to give those 2 points of views.
100%. Ole, what we got next?
Hey, LYS fam. It's Ole once again. These days, many families are busy but want personalized attention. We at Laddering Your Success understand this dilemma and have created a unique approach to help guide you and your child with personal development tools to build a life of purpose. This intimate approach is helpful for those parents that feel the need to have a focused heart-to-heart conversation deciding on the next steps after high school. We provide individual post-secondary planning, virtual customized college and career counseling, and scholarship guidance and planning. Our one-on-one sessions are tailored to each individual student to maximize their potential in the post-secondary realm. With our guidance, your child will be able to make their dreams a reality. Don't wait. Simply go to lys.com/parents to get your copy today. Now let's get back to business on this podcast.
Go ahead, Daniel. Did you have something?
I was like, man, y'all so nice. The way y'all be breaking down like the students. Let's be honest, some people just ain't gonna do right, bro. I'm gonna be honest. What y'all saying, let's be honest, man, as teachers, is people who gonna come take out loans for the wrong reasons, not even for education. We all saw it in school. Some people actually need it for rent. Some people like, oh man, it's just I'm gonna take out and do what I want to. And then I feel like Crawford and them, they should when they change the rules where you want the best, like only people who going to graduate, you need to look for people who want to graduate. Not for people who oh, you know what? I'm just gonna come to see if I like it. Because a lot of people say that. I just come and see if I like it. Like the schools need to see, there should be a harder obstacle. You won't just hire somebody. You know what I'm saying? For a job, Fest ain't gonna hire somebody, but you know what? I'm just gonna try this out, you know what I'm saying? Meta X to see if I like it for a day and then just leave. That's trash, bro. A lot of, we have to understand, truly, I've done dumb stuff back in my day, but some of these people not even 18, 19, they 24, 25, 26, they come take out this loan, knowing what's going to happen, some people do. And then they take losses. But like I said, it's going to be, it needs to be harder in school if it puts more pressure on the teachers. If you're going to put more pressure on the school, you can't force a grown person to stay in school, bro. This ain't like elementary where there's, what's it called, truancy. This is grown people. I know they're only 18 and 19, but you still grown at 19, bro. So if you leave, that's on the school. And what's going to happen? They're going to blame the school. Just because think about, I went to school, people, man, they had all these scholarships, right? They went to class for 2 days or 2 weeks. And I'm like, bro, what are y'all doing? They must have put on academic probation, right? They was like, okay, next semester. Went for 3 weeks. And then got kicked out of school. But the school looks bad because they don't want to go to class, even though they had scholarship and everything. Just like we get blamed because the kid not coming to school and his scores are low. Bro, he only came to school 80 days. Like, that's not my fault. So I guess, like, I'm always the bad person, I guess, is on here when it happens. But, okay, appreciate it. Thanks a lot, Sharon. He talking about, yeah, you really are.
I'm just saying, bro, you do be coming with the.
I mean, it's like, because I've done dumb stuff, but I remember walking around, like, as soon as people get their money, they go to the mall, and it ain't about paying their bills, it's going to the mall. I'm like, bro, you spent $2,000 at the mall, bro, on student, and then you dropped out of school. Like, bro, what are you doing?
But, as you bring that up, that's also a very powerful reason why people are against paying off student loan debt for other people, because, again, there's a lot of financial decisions that were made that did not include everybody else. When you was in the mall getting fresh, you wasn't thinking about, Sally and John and Jaquan and all of them paying their taxes. So when people start to say, man, well, I don't know about paying off student loan debt, I don't fault them.
Yeah, that's real.
So we covered a lot, and it's really, really good. And I just had some quick notes, so give me about 3 minutes because everyone had some really beautiful points. I thought about myself when I was in high school, and if I would have had a program like this, I'm pretty sure when I put my information to I think Festus made that point earlier, that first of all, I would have been scared to do it because I was just so low. My GPA was low, my class rank was low, all those things, scores, test scores, whatever was low. So when I would have put it in, I'm pretty sure it would have said, it would have found a nice way to say, take a gap year or go to Houston Community College.
The machine say, chill out, old lady.
Be like, miss, my machine broke. My machine is smoking.
And Mo was like, don't. It said, it be like this. Please start over. Somebody typed in the wrong information.
You make a mistake. Did you mean to put this number? Right? So it would have said something like that. But to that point, I think that's so helpful, because what that would have done is that would have put it to my face and said, hey, you got to figure something out, because after this, after you get that little diploma, it's a real life from here. And I think my hope is that is what happens for a lot of people. The reality will set in sooner and say, hey, like, okay, I got to figure out something, right? We've been talking about how these projections for the next 10 years, things like trade skills, joining the workforce are going to increase. So I think that eye-opening moment for a lot of these students will hopefully happen for them. I think one of us made the comment earlier on about students should have a full picture of who they are in high school. So some of these, I think Festus, you talk about pigeonholing, right? So, kids going heavy into, you want to go into the medical field, you're going to go heavy into these certain classes. To that point, I do think that, they should be able to take an elective or something that helps them get a full picture, right, of being able to fulfill that ikigai, right, to a certain extent, to be able to know, okay, I'm also good at this. I can also help the world doing this, right? I think gap years, as I mentioned earlier, are going to be a real thing. I've heard more and more students, more and more parents talk about having a gap year. And to your point, Festus, man, thank God for LYS. The parents I talk to in which the kids are doing gap years, they're saying one thing in particular that makes my heart very warm. And they're saying, they're doing a gap year, but we're talking. We're constantly communicating. I'm watching them very hard to make sure they don't get lazy. Like, you got to be on this. You got to be doing this. You got to be doing that. You can take that year off, but you need to take that. You need to have something tangible by the time that year is up, and you need to have a really good plan for yourself. And man, that just really makes my heart happy to see that parents are actually working with their students, using that authoritative form of parenting and really looking for a solid solution there. And then the last thing I'll say before our last question is, one of the things I do see in the future is an increase of what schools like San Jac, which is San Jacinto, I can't remember what it stands for, San Jac, I can't think of the rest of it, but it's like a community college kind of thing. Lone Star, and Houston Community College have, which are basically more and more of these skill trade certifications and things like that. One of the things I typed in was like University of Texas General Contractor Apprentice Licensure. It's going to be a 2-year program where when you do this, you can be able to work in a field or work in a general contractor field or allied health or, insert IT, insert, major work job force sector, right? That's looking for that, right? You'll have, and you've seen it now. Companies like Citgo have partnered with school districts and community colleges to have these, have these streamlined programs to where you can come out and you can start working for us. Houston Community College has a wonderful program with University of Texas at Tyler in the engineering department. I think you're going to start to see a lot more of these things happen, right? And I think it's really good for students. When they get out of school, they can say, hey man, I may not have the money, but I did this direct admissions thing. I was able to see the schools that I could go to. I talked about it with my parents. We looked up how much it was going to cost, because now that you know where you're going, who's going to accept you, you can start to say, hey, all right, how much is it going to cost? Or what do my loans look like? What do my scholarships look like? And then, I think that's really going to help families start to navigate and say, maybe we can do this. This thing is the thing you want to do. And you go to ACC, you can take the bus there. You can take my car there, come back. Mom can use the car to go to work. You can drop me off and we can go from there. And so I think from a planning standpoint, if used properly, right, I think this is really, really going to be beneficial. Let's go to our last question here. What role will alternative pathways like trade schools and gap years play in Texas, especially as college enrollment becomes more accessible? I think I kind of hinted on that, but I'd love to get everyone's thoughts on that. What role will the alternative pathways? So what role are things like trade schools? What role are things like gap years? What are those going to play? What are those things going to look like in Texas or nationally, if you want to talk about nationally, but we know Texas will. But how will those things look as now people can see exactly where they're going to be going?
Hey, bro, I was going to say, I think Fed spoke on this a long time ago. You should only take a gap year if you have an actual plan. Because he was telling somebody a long time ago, because some people be like, man, I'm going to take a year off, but they don't have a plan of actually searching and working for that semester or 6 month off. So I'm not a big fan of gap year unless you have a plan for that gap. You know what I'm saying? If you actually search, because I remember he said that and I was like, man, that's real, because somebody said he was going to take a year, 6 months off. I can't remember who he was talking to. And he asked them, okay, what you gonna do in them 6 months? And it was like, no, bro, like that's not going to work. Like you need to have like, okay, I'm gonna take this year off, but I want to see if I want to be a doctor or whatever, or if I want this, so I might need to volunteer at a hospital. I need to do this for a year or something. See, I want to do tech. I need to do this for a year, just volunteer. But I tell my kids all the time, man, some of these blue collar jobs or them college I think don't pay much, they pay a lot of money, bro. So I think it's going to change a lot when people actually start seeing how much people make.
I think trade schools will still maintain their attraction to students with a shorter school, where a shorter path basically where they can make that money right after. But I also think that colleges is like the collaboration is going to improve, because it's going to have to. It is going to affect the decision making post high school of many students. But those students who still want to just take the shorter path so they can get a trade will still go to trade school. But I also think that the trade schools could partner with 4-year institutions and things of that nature to kind of figure out how they can partner to still maintain and stay afloat. I think people will adjust. The systems will adjust. I also think there would definitely be a reduce in college applications who don't have direct admissions. I do think the workforce will be impacted by more students being able to enter the workforce. Those are the things I can just think right off the top of my head.
All right, Festus, anything that you want to drop in?
No, I'm good. Thanks.
So, man, this was really, really good. AJ, you got a lot of good stuff here. So I was just thinking about that earlier. So this is really, really, really good stuff we've talked about. Talking about direct admissions, outlook, forecasts, as far as what students are going to be doing in the next 10 to 15 years and how these changes impact students. And one of the things I didn't get a chance to mention is, some of these things are going to change depending on where you live, rurally or urban. One of the things I thought about was yesterday I was looking at the UTEP, University of Texas at El Paso, and I was like, man, even in a state as big as Texas, regionally, there are so many things that are unique to different parts of where you live. I'm thinking about South Texas right now, McAllen area, Brownsville area, and the things that are going on with Tesla. And in my mind, I'm just like, man, possible partnerships and things that could happen in regards to that. I don't know if you guys saw that amazing video within the last week, 2 weeks, of their rocket kind of like hitting that platform as it was coming back down to Earth. But I'm just like, man, just so many amazing things happening. And, I can imagine a young kid seeing that and saying, I want to do that. How do I get a chance to do that? Right. And so that's where, these things start to spark in our mind. It was like being a little kid and watching Cape Canaveral, as the rockets would launch. Right.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think that's super dope that Tesla, and just so many, man, for those who don't know, Texas is about to be it. For those who don't know,
they coming.
The Texas Stock Exchange, y'all heard about that?
Yeah, we talked about this. Yes, Festus, hold on. Let's not. We going deep.
I haven't heard of it.
Well, hey, tell me about that afterwards.
That'll be on LYS After Dark. No, Festus, that's fine. I was just joking. Go ahead if you want to talk about it. It's awesome.
No, just it's coming up. So they recently announced the Texas Stock Exchange, and basically, for those who don't know, when there are different sectors in the economy of basically centralized power. And for example, if you want to make a movie, everybody says LA, Hollywood, right?
Atlanta.
Or now they say Atlanta, right? If you want to do anything that's financially related, it's New York because of the New York Stock Exchange, right? And when you get into that, it's a whole rabbit hole, right? But now they made a Texas Stock Exchange, and so there's just a few stock exchanges globally. You have London and New York. There's a couple other places, but usually, what a stock exchange, the thing that makes it so powerful is where capital is. And so, for example, the fact that in New York they got Wall Street, and basically you got hundreds of millions of billions of dollars that are you got some background noise, bro. That is going to be set up in Dallas. And so what that means is there's going to be a lot of money, a lot of companies moving in and through the area. And so it's going to really change the Texas landscape.
Wow. So this is beautiful because everything is trickle down. And when I say trickle down, I love how we talk about something, a law, a reform, something that's passed, and we talk about how it trickles down all the way down to just the average person, and we get to see it. And so I think, Festus, what you did is you brought a wonderful perspective to say, with these changes, right, and these changes that are happening, right? So when we talk about what's forecasted in the future and things that are moving into Texas, were these things being thought about as they were being done? And one of the things we've learned is, man, I've talked with people who've been in Houston longer than me, and they've said things like, man, what we're seeing right now where we live was they planned it 15, 20, 25, 30 years ago. So we're seeing something that's already been planned out. And so one of the things we want to do is we want to be as ahead of the curve as we can, which clearly, since we're LYS, we're living examples of that, but also empower students, parents, educators to be ahead of these trends and these things so they can be that much more impactful. So with that being said, thank you so much for listening to Edge of Steps, powered by Laddering Your Success. Thank you so much, as always, to the future Dr. Jamar Crawford and Daniel Hill for their wonderful contributions now and the contributions that you all have been giving and offering us since you just joined us and been a part of what we do. We thank you so much. Folks, be sure to follow us on social media. That's YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. If you need more information, please be sure to go to our website, www.ladderingyyoursuccessformore. My name is Ole Sharanki. That is Festus Amoye. Festus, give him the phrase it pays, my good sir.
Listen, if you are struggling with your education, you need to check us out. There are legitimate excuses for not going to college. There's no legitimate excuse for not getting an education. Hit the like button. If you like what you heard today, hit the share button with somebody who needs to hear this, and hit the follow button so you could catch us on the next episode. We'll see you there.
Oh, you still there? Well, thank you so much for listening to the LYS podcast.